Well, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Lisa, also known as EnergieGal, wellness coach promoting empowered living and your guide here on the EnergieGal Podcast, where we experience transformational conversations. Well, I've been just speaking with Nancy here, and I said we need to press play because it's been quite an interesting conversation. I just want to invite you into this space as a listener to hear this fantastic storyteller unpack little bits and pieces of her life. Now, truth be known, I've only ever met her the first time today, and it is fantastic. So a little bit about Nancy. Nancy is a full-time resident at Lillydale, New York. She served in the Army as a military police officer and then segued to civilian law enforcement, where she served on the Lawton Oklahoma Police Department. Well, I just got to stop you right there and say, how long did you serve that? First of all, I want to know, how did you get to decide you're going to be a police officer?
I watched MASH. I'm going to give up my age. When I was growing up,
Alan
MASH,
Alda was a little yummy, in my opinion.
And Loretta Swift,
Oh,
when
she was
when
awesome!
When the females are like running, and you see the females in the military setting, and I saw that, and I thought, that's what I want to do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to do that. I wanted to be that female, because back then, as you know, there probably weren't a lot of females in the military, and I liked the police aspect of it, just from watching shows growing up, and I just want to be a police officer. And you could not be a police officer for the most part until you were 21, but in the military, you could be a military police officer. Actually, I was 17 when I joined the military. My parents had to sign for me to join, and by 18 I was carrying an M16, and I was
oh my goodness,
one of the very few female police officers back then.
Just little you doing that.
Little me, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it was a right fit. Like it was good.
It was very difficult for a female back then. Very difficult. I was the last WAC, Women's Army Corps unit, to go through the military before they integrated with men and women in Fort McClellan, Alabama. So getting us intertwined with the males and being able to be seen as an equal with the males, it was just a really difficult time for, I think, any female at that time. But the challenge was there. I've always been up for a challenge. And I only served 3 years active duty. I went back in the reserves and served another 6 years as a reserve officer. But 3 years active before I went to the police department.
And at the police department, you served
28 and a half years.
So you ended up going into the military when you were at the ripe age of 17.
17, yes.
And you talked a little bit about how it was interesting because you wanted to do military police.
Yes.
You were a female.
Yes.
And that was unusual at that time and difficult.
Yes, totally. It was very difficult for a female, especially a female military police officer.
Yeah.
There were not a lot of us.
Yeah.
When I got to my permanent station, there were only 4 females of about 100 and almost 200 officers.
Wow.
So yeah, those kind of numbers.
What do you think, if you looked back upon that particular few years of your life? You said you did 3 active and then went back for reserves for an additional 6. What was it that young Nancy learned?
Young Nancy learned, the first thing I would say the military taught me was discipline. I learned discipline. I learned courage, for sure. I learned strength. I learned how to, because I'd never left from Jamestown, New York.
Oh,
so
I didn't know you're from around here.
Yeah, that's where I graduated from.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'd never left this area, and then leaving at 17, basically never coming back for 35 years later. So I grew up really quick, really fast, and I just learned so much.
Right.
It had such an impact. Those few years in the military, I will always appreciate them because they
set the foundation. They sure did.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How was your relationship with just the 3 other women that were in?
We were very close because we were going through some bad things together.
Yeah.
Just being the only 3 females. And we were all actually in a dorm room together, so that helped out. And at the time, we worked 12-hour shifts. So we worked 12 on, 12 off. It was a brutal schedule. We worked 9 days in a row of 12-hour shifts with only 3 days off, and then it just kept repeating itself. So it was a very brutal schedule.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
But you went back and did reserves.
I did. That was when I was in Oklahoma, though. Yeah. Several years later, actually.
And was it a natural transition to then go being a police officer?
Yes, you will find many military people, retirees, or even those that served, segue to be police officers. Just because you know what you're doing as a soldier, so to say, carrying the gun and fighting, and you know all that preparation. You know, they fight battles not so much locally as they do, you know, internationally. And police officers are always here, you know, here on our home ground. So it's very, very similar work.
How did you end up in Oklahoma?
My ex-husband, got stationed. Fort Sill is attached to Lawton, Oklahoma, so it's a military base, military town. So I was there in my entire career, which was very humbling, and I enjoyed.
Oh, you stayed the entire time at the same place?
Yes.
Ooh.
Are you talking about with the military?
Well, when you became a police officer, did you stay in the same police department?
Yeah, it's a career.
Wow. I jump around a lot, so I just figured I see someone who stays in the same place for 30 years, and I'm like, damn.
That's hilarious. Well, you know, we do have like a retirement plan, so in order to get that, you kind of
I
have
don't
to
get
stay,
that.
You kind of have to stay with that one area for a while.
Good thing my husband stayed at his job for a long time.
There you go. There you go. So
you retired as a detective.
Detective, yeah. The first 15 years of my career, I was a patrol officer, and I was in the patrol car by myself, where I worked midnight shift. Almost the entire 15 years was on midnight shift.
How'd you feel about that?
Loved it.
Really?
Oh, I loved it. I'm still a night person. You'll still catch me. I call myself a night walker. I'll be out walking around Lillydale 3, 4 in the morning.
Really?
Yeah, just a night person.
I do believe that we're born certain ways. I've got 5 children, and some of them, they're just night owls, and then I've got that one that's up early in the morning, so roll with it.
It's a whole different world at night, especially working as a police officer, and if people were to even have a clue what was going on when they were sleeping. So,
Maybe
seriously,
it's best.
yeah, it's probably best not to. But I loved it. We had a core group that always worked midnight shifts, so we had a great group of officers that had each other's back, and yeah, I loved it.
Ends up being like a family.
Yeah, but there was a lot of like drug activity going on, of course, at nighttime.
Yeah,
They move around at night.
Yeah.
Can't blame them. So that started my love, so to say, for working narcotics and being involved in narcotics, which caused me to segue to end up starting off as a narcotics detective, is where in special operations.
Wow. So is this like a specialty even among what you were?
I was assigned to special operations, kind of like TV with the SVU or whatever. Yeah, it was a specialty unit, yes. Because from there I segued to working with sex offenders and human, I'm in a mind lapse. Yeah, thank you. Human trafficking, which at the time wasn't called human trafficking. I was there right when it was starting, the forefront of human trafficking. Of course, it's blown up now. It's a big thing. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like I worked all those kind of crimes that most people are like, how did you do it? And I think a lot of times what helped me work with sex offenders, with internet crimes against children, which is huge, still huge. Human trafficking was because maybe I didn't have children, so I could maybe detach myself from that, and was able to better connect to the offenders. But you need that connection.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me what it is that you're doing now. You've already told me a little bit, based upon your heart having experienced all those years in the military. What is it that you're giving back now? What is it that you're doing now? And you told me you just got
the crisis lines. Yeah.
Wait till she tells you about this. I find this very interesting.
Well, a year or so ago, I went through training to answer crisis lines. I can't specifically
that's fine.
say.
Yeah.
But I answer a crisis line where I deal with other people's problems, it's not necessarily just a suicide line. It could be any kind of situation where someone feels like they're in a crisis. And it's a 24-hour line that we answer. We work 8-hour shifts. It was a different scenario to be on the side of a phone, okay? It's almost like a dispatcher side where you're sitting there listening to the scenario, whereas a police officer, I was out there reacting. Always reactive on the scene. So it's a different aspect, different to have to step back and sit there and listen to a scenario and help walk them through it. But it's been fulfilling for me to continue to be of service, because that's always something I'm going to want to do.
Well, you are service oriented.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's just from 17, it's like it's serve in some capacity, way, shape, or form. You have been serving. Yes,
and I've said it, even when I was on the police department, you go to a store and you see a domestic, I'm that person on or off duty, I'm jumping in the middle of something. And I'll still do that today. I will still be that person that jumps in the middle if I see something wrong. I just can't help myself. Can't help myself.
Wow, it's in your blood.
In my blood. People are like, well, how'd you end up at Lillydale?
Oh.
That's the number one big question, how you end up at Lillydale. And I just want to say that I was aware of Lillydale my entire life, growing up in Jamestown, but Lillydale always caught my curiosity. Being raised Catholic, we weren't necessarily allowed to believe in what Lillydale represents, so I didn't have time to explore any of that until after I moved back here, and I was very lost. I was extremely a lost soul coming back here. Everybody in Oklahoma, you go there right now, I'm Miss Nancy and I'm Detective Nancy. Everybody knew who you were. I'm very recognizable on the street just because I worked the streets so long.
And she's beautiful. Just saying.
She's so One thing you don't want is a female police officer to be called honey, sweetie.
No.
Because they do it every time to a female. You're so pretty. No, I carry a gun, and it's officer, it's detective. I tell you, you get that so much. So I know the females today still put up with that. It's just like, oh my gosh, on a traffic stop, you're so pretty. You think males put up with that?
Oh no, would never happen.
Not at all.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, I was a very lost soul because no one knew that part of me here.
Yeah.
You don't know that part of me.
My goodness, I mean, think about that. You left, you experienced an entire lifetime. You come back, nobody has any grid for all that you've experienced when it comes to this incredible, I mean, it was pervasive throughout, and it was big. You're a police officer.
Yeah, I mean,
And you come back and nobody knows that aspect of you.
So it was and I didn't have any of my partners. I didn't have any of the people, my people, as I call them. My people were
Why'd
all
you
gone.
come back?
Because being gone, I was gone 35 years total. And I watched my mother die, my dad die, my grandmother, many important people in my life died that were back here. And I told you it's 28 and a half years. I wanted to go to 30. There was something about that 28 and a half years. I told myself, Nancy, if you don't retire right now, you're not going to have anybody else to come back to. Because I kept coming back to funerals.
Oh my goodness, Nancy.
I kept coming back to people dying, and I thought, I need to come back to whatever family I've left. So that was my driving force to coming back here. I do have some brothers and sisters that still live in this area. And I just felt like I'd missed so much being away.
Wow. So you came back.
I came back. I actually had property up on Lake Erie. I owned Lake Erie. I owned 50 feet of Lake Erie. It was my dream home. I'd worked for it. But I got back there and I just ran into problems. I ran into problems because I didn't feel accepted as a retired police officer. I didn't feel accepted. It's very generational sometimes down at the lake. People have lived there many years, and an outsider coming in didn't work. Once again, I was searching. Even at this time of our life, we're searching.
Sure.
And someone's like, well, why don't you try to go to church? And I'm like, go to church? I didn't go to church my entire career. Seriously. I mean, I might have even been an atheist for all I know. I didn't have time to believe in God or think about God. And if I did think about God, it probably wasn't on good terms because I saw so much bad.
Sure.
So I was blaming, if there was a God, who can let someone suffer like this?
Yeah.
Who can let these kids get abused like this? Who can let this person get raped? It was always that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
But I happened to go to a sale, a garage sale that they were having at the fire department in Lillydale. And I'm a big garage sale person, junkie. And I went up there and I heard the older ladies of Lillydale, they were talking in the back. And I thought, So I just happened to show up at a church service one Sunday at Lillydale at the Assembly Hall, which is a historic building for those that don't know about Lillydale. And I walked in and they had read the principles, and which is very, as you know, they're basic, they're welcoming, they're welcoming to everything and everybody. And it's just like, this is something I can relate to. And it instantly connected with me, instantly.
Whoa.
Yeah, I joined that day.
Oh, you were ready.
Yeah.
It was time.
Yeah. I started attending Judith Rochester's mediumship classes.
Oh, Judith is awesome.
She became my mentor. And, she saw in me something I don't think I saw in myself as far as my mediumship, being psychic. A police officer is never going to call themselves psychic. Never. Are we intuitive? You bet you. As a detective, oh my gosh, yeah.
Right.
I have to know what you're going to, when I'm interviewing you, I know what you're going to say before you say it.
Right.
I know what your answer is going to be. So yeah, we're definitely intuitive. So one day I was driving, I left Judith Rochester's class, and I remember driving out of Lillydale, and I thought, I'm moving here. I just knew it. And sure enough, within months, I moved there.
Oh.
Rented for a year, and then I just stayed.
And stayed. And now you do things there. You're responsible for stuff there.
Yep. I'm a president of a church. Quite quickly on this big scale of things. I've only been there 4 years. I would like to say I have leadership qualities. So a quiet leader, but I don't have a problem leading people. But I still had the problem in Lillydale of how I was going to intertwine my police work with spirituality, because they don't really mesh.
Well.
Yeah, how are you going to put that together?
Yeah.
I felt like they were two the yin and the yang.
Different worlds. Yeah.
Two complete different worlds. So I think I began slowly, even in my prayers, I think I have not unconditional, but I have different prayers that I bring into the scenarios. I may or may not know, I like to write poetry.
I've seen your poetry. I've read it.
Thank you.
It's fabulous.
Thank you. I've written poetry since I was a kid.
Oh my gosh. It is fantastic.
Oh, you're very sweet.
Oh, well, it was really good. It's
Thank
part of the
you.
reason I asked you to come on. I was like, a girl who writes poetry like that, I want to get to know her better. It was great.
So I think I bring some unconventional things into the church that maybe haven't been seen before, because it's just my life aspects of things. What I've seen, trying to educate and through a loving way. And tell these people that might not, well, you don't understand what I've been through. Yeah, I do understand what you've been through. I get it. And through writing, through talking. And then I came up with some workshops, because they do workshops in Lillydale. I came up with some workshops, and one of the ones that had the biggest effect on me as a child, because I lost a family member when I was 9, was through suicide. And working so many suicides as a police officer, it was just, and right now during the pandemic, it's huge. The uptick in suicides has risen, and the survivors trying to deal with these suicides is tremendous. So I've put together a workshop that really seems to be touching a lot of people, and as well as informative, and I don't want to say enjoy teaching it, but you know what I mean? I just like bringing it out. I like talking about it, and that's what it is. It's talking about it and being able to talk about it and not feel embarrassed by it.
Normalizing talking about even the difficult things like that.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll say that word to people, you can instantly instantly see them do that, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought that workshop, which intertwines the two worlds, and I have also come up with a workshop of responding to critical incidents, because I responded to critical incidents all the time as a police officer. But if you're that friend that's called, okay, say someone just got beat up, and you're the one they're calling to come over to their house, do you know how to handle that person in that scenario?
Right.
Or guess what? Their husband just killed themselves, and you're the best friend that they're calling.
Right.
Because they don't have anybody else to turn to.
Right.
Do you know how to handle that scenario?
Right.
So I've built this whole workshop about that.
Wow, you take something that was so difficult in your experience, your life, and then you marry it with all the experience that you had and the education and then the passion and the love that you have for souls in general, you know, and you make something helpful and useful and accessible for people. Thank you for that.
You're so sweet.
Yeah, I will definitely make sure to link that below, because I don't think that, I mean, I'm trying to think of anybody who hasn't been touched somehow either by suicide or by a critical incident. If you haven't, you will be. That's just the way life goes, you know?
Right, yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah. Totally. So, yeah, and then of course I was so excited to know that you were a fitness instructor for so many years.
Oh,
lots
of
and
years.
A runner.
Fellow runner.
Okay, runners, we're different.
We're a different breed.
We're a different breed because there's a discipline about us that most people don't get. There just is, and people are like, I call them the hot and cold weather workout people, and you know who I'm talking about. They come, they go, they start fair weather all the time, and
by runners you mean like we do marathons.
Yeah. And
I think that there's
a
difference.
She does 100 miles. Come on.
I have done 100 miles
I feel
before.
I feel like a baby only doing 26 miles.
No.
26 miles.
I told you there is
nothing.
such a difference between going out for a 3-mile run. You want to do that really fast.
Yeah.
You go out for a half a marathon. Now, have you done some half marathons?
Oh, like over 50.
Yeah. I mean, you still want to go pretty fast. What's your fastest half?
157.
Ooh, Speedy Gonzalez.
My fastest full, which I'm very proud of, is 159. Or I'm sorry, 259. 259 is my
fast. You did it in less than 3 hours?
I'm sorry. No, I did
359.
359.
Just
I did
shy
less
of
than
4
hours, which I was sold.
That is
that was my best.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Ugh. No.
That is amazing. Yeah, shout that one.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm very proud. I got my little picture running across the finish. Oklahoma State.
And each one is so, you know, I think for me, well, each one is its own little beast, because the half marathon, you're always striving for sub 2.
Oh, yeah.
You do.
Yeah, you do.
And for the full, God bless you, I just am striving for a 4:30 to a 5. If I can do it in that range, but that's work. But the 100-miler, much as it's long, you take your breaks because you know you're going to be at it for a while. It might take a couple of days, but you'll get it done.
I've thought about trying to go for that because it interests me for sure.
Yeah,
it intrigues me. Yeah, for sure. It definitely intrigues
sick,
me.
You are a sick person. I'm just kidding. What is it about us?
I don't know if it's something about the adrenaline. You know, we're adrenaline junkies for sure. But it's the challenge of it.
It's the challenge.
And in the big picture of things, I think there's less. I don't even know if it's 1% that do marathons.
I know.
It's a very small percentage of people. And
now, you've never done any triathlons, because I've dipped my toe into that.
No, because I don't do the swimming thing. I mean, I swim, but I'm not competitive swimming. I've done bicycle. I've done 100 miles on bicycle for sure.
Do you like bicycling?
I do, but I ended up during work. I had my neck fused together, and something about that position
Being
of
over
it
is problematic for too long.
Yep.
So running is like a fave, and you'll do it even in cold weather.
Oh yeah. I'm year round
outside.
Yeah.
So what's your average run every day?
No, I run like 4 days a week, 4-6 miles.
So a couple loops around maybe the lake.
Yeah, because people are like, why don't you go do 5Ks? And nothing against 5Ks, but it's like, that's my regular run.
Yeah.
I don't do anything less than that.
Right.
I'm sure you don't either.
No.
Don't do anything less than that.
Yeah.
So why would
if I'm going to get dressed up, I'm going to run.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to spend money on that. But
and why do you do races? Do you still do the races?
No, the last one I did was Oklahoma City Memorial. I love that race up there. It's I've done it several years because of the bombing, because of what it represents. And yeah, but no. But I find, and I'm sure you do too, I mean, I've been a distance runner now, I'll call myself, for over 20 years. And it's because it helps it's my sanity.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, people have said, you've got such willpower. I was like, really not much willpower. It's that my whole body craves moving the energy. Like, this is good for my mind. You got a lot of Gemini, I got a lot of Gemini. We're thinkers, so I gotta move some energy, and working out helps.
I write a lot of my prayers, a lot of my poetry when I'm running up in my head. I'm able to think clearer. I'm able to see things clearer. And I know some people don't get that, but it's my meditation.
Yeah, I really dig it. Yeah, interesting. Plus, you're teaching some classes, aren't you?
I am teaching some classes locally, which is very good for me. So I like that. I love teaching.
And you do the meditative yoga, right?
I do. Yep.
Fabulous.
Yeah, people like that. It seems a lot of people, when I tell them, like, I know you probably can't stay still. Sometimes they can't even stay still for a minute. If you're not used to staying still, I mean, you have to develop those abilities. So teaching them and walking them through that, but once they figure out how they can calm themselves and how you find stillness, and then to find the peace in the stillness is, it's such a release for people, especially during their regular week when they're not used to having it. So, yeah, I enjoy giving people the ability to find that in themselves.
What is your favorite meal?
Oh my goodness. Well, I told you I was 60 pounds at one time, 60 pounds heavy on the police department from working midnight shift and eating very bad food because there was nowhere to eat on midnight shift. And my dad had come to live with me the last year of his life in Oklahoma, actually, dying of cancer. And after my dad died, and he was always like, every week he was bringing home like birthday cake because I loved cake. And we would celebrate for any reason, and okay, Dad, let's celebrate whatever reason we eat birthday cake. And I gained all this weight.
Don't need a reason, actually.
But after my dad died, for some reason, and I turned 40, and I thought, I'm going to run a marathon. Never trained.
So your first race was a marathon?
Yeah. My first race was a marathon. I never had run that far distance. I think the farthest I'd ever run was 5 miles in the military. I pulled down one of those, 16-week training schedules?
Yes.
Off of Runner's World, I think. And I just started, and I typed it out, and I went week by week, and I'm telling you, I did not deviate off of that schedule. And at the end of that, I ran my first marathon, and my first marathon was, I think it was 4 hours and 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I found out, I had no idea of time or what that was or what that meant. That's good. Yeah, I found out that was a good time.
Had you lost quite a bit of weight while you were training for the run?
Yeah, I ended up losing 40 pounds.
While you were training for that first run? Wow.
A few years ago, I went back to the keto diet, and I do eat some sugar. I'm not going to say I don't. It just agrees with me. I have arthritis now, and there's something about, that carbs, when I have carbs in me, I hurt more. And I've found for myself personally, eating less carbs really is good.
So what's an average day look like for you when it comes to food?
Very regimented, kind of like...
You Virgo girl.
I am. I could eat the same thing like all the time, like...
It works.
I eat my protein bar, I eat my eggs and whatever, turkey, bacon at lunch, and I'll have my chicken and 2 different vegetables for dinner. That's about it.
Yeah, it works.
And daily. And it's just, I go to the grocery store, I know exactly what I want. And it makes it easy.
Yeah.
I know labels, because when I first started, I read the labels.
Sure.
So I've got that all down pat.
Right. Of all the places that you've been in the world, what's your favorite place, do you think?
All the places I love New Mexico. Yeah.
What'd you love about that?
I love the mountains. I like the feel of it. There's many Indian reservations there. A lot more. When I was in Oklahoma, there are also Indian reservations. I was around the Comanche and the Kiowas for many years. In New Mexico, I mean, I forget how many different tribes. There's many tribes there, and I think there's something about the energy in New Mexico that
I've heard
that I'm really drawn to it.
Wow. What's coming up next for you?
What's coming up next? That's a good question. I'm hoping to still do some more classes.
As far as you want to add more, or you want to just do them? Share them?
I just want to share them. I want to get more people to ask me to do classes. I'm very involved with the church, so that takes up a lot of time.
Well, especially in the next few months, it'll be busy.
Yeah, we'll be really busy with that, and that just takes up a lot of volunteering. I'm going to continue with my crisis line work, and just see what comes up. I think it's not a good thing to plan too far ahead. Being a police officer, I've always, the good old live one day at a time. But I tell people that I think I probably thought about death more than anybody else, because when you get to carry a gun every single day, you don't know whether you're coming home or not coming home, which has caused me to not live my life. Oh, next year I'm going to go do this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to think that far ahead, because in my mind I'm thinking, are you going to be around next year? Even though I'm young, but we never know when our time is.
No, we don't.
So I don't like to plan that far ahead for things.
Has it caused you to do more be here now stuff?
Oh, 1000%. And even if I were to leave here today and go get into an accident, I'm okay with that, because I've lived my life.
Right.
We have to live our life the way we're going to live our life, with no regret, and leave everything on the table. And that's okay.
Yeah, I was just watching a little video with, I think his name is Thich Nhat Hanh.
I love some of his things.
Yeah, me too.
He's
I just love him. I call him darling. And he was talking about how even, doing the dishes, eating a banana, writing out your bills, everything can be something that is a holy practice if you are mindful of doing it at that moment,
I am trying to I also noticed, I found when I moved to Lillydale, I started taking pictures. And I guess I have a ability of photography that I didn't realize I had, just all
this creativity that's just squeezing right out of you, girl.
Yeah, for sure. So I've kind of been putting my photography together with my words, and my hope is to write a book for sure. I definitely want to do a poetry book. That is definitely in my future.
I would buy that.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
And might I say, your energy is beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Seriously, you're like one of these
Thank you.
people, and understand that as a police officer, I don't know if you do too, but you weigh people up in a very short amount of time. You have to be able to, and you're one of the people that I meet and I instantly like.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I can instantly tell you're a good person.
Thanks.
I can see your energy. We're very much alike.
Yeah, we are. I can feel it.
I can feel how much alike we are for sure. And we were Facebook friends, and how many people we have, so many Facebook friends, and you don't really know them, but you know them. So I'm so glad to get to meet you in
Thank
purpose.
you. Well, then I started reading some of your poetry, and I thought, I want to be friends with this one. And you would post a little bit of a picture and then have this beautiful, and it was, when I read your poetry, I stop everything, and I can feel a stillness and a peace just settle over me while I'm reading it. So there's something that's energetic about your poetry. There's something energetically that comes off of it that's like transmitted to me, I'm assuming to anybody who will read it. And so to me, I think there's something special about it. So I'm excited that you would be putting together a book someday with some photos, and I think that would be a real benefit to the collective,
You're
to
very
all of
sweet.
us.
Thank you so much.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I'm really jazzed, and maybe we can go for some runs together. But you
I
got to slow
I
down,
probably can't
girl.
keep up with
oh,
you.
no.
Yeah.
My fastest full is like a 4:59 and change. It's as fast as I've ever gone.
It's not a matter of how fast, as you know. It's a matter, and it's not even a matter of finishing, because some people don't finish. It's a matter of starting.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And to just celebrate that, because
yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I can err on is really beating myself up over how slow I am compared to everybody else. But I have to remind myself, first of all, it's not a race with anybody else, but, enjoying it for myself.
Because of that competitive edge in us.
Oh my goodness, it's been a pleasure. It's been a
Thank you
real
so very much
pleasure.
for having me, for sure.
I have this question to ask, and I would ask it of myself as well, and that is, what is it that you came here in this incarnation to learn?
I feel like I've come here to learn, and I don't mean to sound, that's the first thing that came to my head when you asked that question. I've never been asked that question. I feel like I came here to learn tragedy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because of the police officer?
Because although we like to think life is a cheery bed of roses, for the majority of people that's not necessarily the case. And rather than people wanting to see the tragic part of people's lives, they choose to go past it and not see it. And I, for some reason, have chose to put emphasis on that because people need that, and people want you to see their tragedy and want you to understand their tragedy. And I feel all my walk through this life has presented so many moments of tragedy, but I've learned from them.
Yeah.
And I think I help people through them.
Yeah, I think that you've learned to really be a good safe space holder for people. Even if you might not completely understand, you certainly have held safe space where they know that you are listening.
Yes.
You are hearing them. And a lot of times people just need to know that they've been heard.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. So thank you. Thank you for your energies on the earth. Very necessary. And I'd love to have you on again someday, because we've only scratched the surface of all that you have to offer us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to have Nancy's contact information below the story here, because there's so much that she has to offer. She's got a Facebook page called Wellness with Nancy Lombardo. She's got a website, wellnesswithnancy.lombardo.com. So please check her out. Go to her classes if you're local. Check in with her, because she's got great energy. So that is our story for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, and remembering that each and every one of us has a story and something just magnificent to be able to offer to the collective, whether it's here to really in some odd way embrace tragedy, or mine would be to learn what forgiveness really is, or whatever it is that you've come here to experience. It's all pretty amazing and all part of our story. So thank you for joining us, and see you again next week. Take care.